This is the story of a nation and of one man whose life has mirrored and helped to shape it. It is one of the most exciting stories imaginable. A nation born out of war and breaking the yoke of colonial domination to take a place on the world stage. A boy born into the midst of Malaysia's formation who devotes his life to building the new nation taking shape around him. A child of the times who becomes one of its most important leaders. This is the story of a Malaysian and his remarkable life and times.
Lim Kit Siang has been in politics for over 50 years. He's the longest-serving opposition parliamentarian in Southeast Asia.
Our first encounter was with this young, radical Chinese leader, very articulate. Then he said to me, "Anwar, can we invite you to have a session, a retreat with the DAP leaders at Cameron Highlands?" And here I was known to be like a Muslim firebrand.
I think without Kit Siang, DAP would not be what it is today.
Undoubtedly, Kit Siang is the fearless leader. He is the best of the best.
The opening stages of Malaysia's modern history were marked by political and social tumult.
Before the emergency was scheduled to be decorated with the Order of the British Empire. The decoration was later revoked.
In rural Johor, Lim Po San and Teo Ko Ni's third child was born into a time of turmoil.
I was born and grew up in Batu Pahat, laid-back town in Johor. I was born in 41, and I have vague memories of the Japanese occupation, of airplanes coming, and then everybody had to go and hide. And of course, also very vague memories of the end of the Second World War, when you have soldiers marching down the streets. Those were exciting times because not only in the country there was this Merdeka movement, but throughout the world there was this awareness and a rise of Asian African nationalism, where Afro-Asian countries were standing up for independence and break the yoke of British colonialism and to decide their own destiny. So from those days, I and a few of my friends, we were very closely political developments, political issues. I remember in 1955, we had our first extended excursion. In those days, cycling from Batu Pahat to Malacca, some 60 miles, and it was quite a long journey, quite an unusual excursion in those days. In that journey with two of my classmates, we spent a lot of time discussing about the Afro-Asian London Conference, which was being held at the time. As I said, those were very exciting times when we thought that anything could be within reach.
When Kit Siang was 15, the British and French failed in attempts to take control of the Suez Canal back from Egypt. The colonial era was over. The following year, Malaya was proclaimed an independent federation. And the course of Lim Kit Siang's life was determined.
And I still remember in Form 5, when we were waiting for our results, you had nothing to do. In those days, the only thing you can do was to roam the streets, cycling around. That is the lepak king in those days. I think on one of those occasions, we said that I did suggest, or probably, definitely not in the real seriousness, but in fun. Let's just go out to the world, and every one of us form a political party, and 10 years later we'll come back and exchange notes.
The year was 1959. It was the year of Malaya's first general election. Instead of forming a political party, Lim Kit Siang worked briefly as a teacher before becoming a reporter for the Singapore Straits Times. In 1960, he married Nyo Yok Ti, a classmate he first met at night school. The couple welcomed their first son, Wan Eng. But fate would draw the young family onto the nation's volatile political stage.
Those were also very turbulent days in Singapore.
Kit Siang became Straits Times branch secretary for the Singapore National Union of Journalists, but clashed with his union leader when he tried to raise a number of issues.
I was fairly new as a reporter, but also as a young, newly elected secretary of the branch. So I remember one morning I went up to him because we were working in the same office, sharing the same work table, and gave him a letter about these complaints. He opened the letter, looked at it, looked at me, tore it and tore it up. Probably thinking, how can such a young chap have the temerity to come and make such a protest letter to him? And that, of course, aroused my indignation and my sense of the need to put right such injustices, to be treated with such contempt.
At just 22 years of age, Lim Kit Siang was elected to lead the National Union of Journalists. The unexpected role would prove to be a sign of things to come. With 2 daughters joining his family, the young father moved to become a reporter for Radio TV Singapore. He watched the birth of the new nation of Malaysia, and he watched the new nation's first general election in 1964, in which Devan Nair won the seat of Bangsar for Singapore's People's Action Party. But the political drama was about to take a twist.
I was in Parliament on that morning, and then saw the announcement by the Prime Minister Tunku Abdul Rahman on the decision for the separation of Singapore from Malaysia because it requires a constitution amendment.
Devan Nair was suddenly the PAP's only MP in the Malaysian Parliament. Together with prominent local figure Dr. Chen Man Hin, Devan Nair established a new Malaysian political party. It would be called the DAP, the Democratic Action Party. But Devan needed a support team.
Devan asked to see me, and he asked whether I was prepared to help him to become his political secretary in Malaysia.
At that time, Kit Siang was about to enjoy promotion to editor.
Although I work in Singapore, I was a Malaysian. So all along I felt that I don't really belong in Singapore, and without any hesitation I told him I accepted his offer. Of course, when I went back and discussed with my wife and with my parents, they said I'm mad. And the same thing is what my classmates told me.
因为我只是想当个平凡的主妇而已，没有想到说他会搞政治这一行，我没有办法，就是搞着他为了他的理想，我也没有办法，也要默默的支持他在背后。
The moment he joined us, he worked very hard and very efficient. So as organizing secretary, he was very effective. Very impressive speaker. When he talks sense, and then tells them why they must join the party. You listen to him.
The DAP, when it was founded in 1966, made itself the pledge to bring about a Malaysia. In other words, it's a Malaysia for all Malaysians, rising above race, ethnicity, or territory. That every Malaysian can feel proud to have an equal place under the Malaysian sun and will be able to fully contribute to the betterment of this country. And I felt that I should be back home in order to play my part, to bring about the political direction which I shared.
The Democratic Action Party was registered in March 1966. Dr. Chen Man Hin was the chairman. Devan Nair was Secretary General. Lim Kit Siang was named as National Organizing Secretary and editor for the official newspaper of the party, The Rocket. In December, the Lim's 4th child, Guan Chun, was born.
他的生活也是很简单呐，他也是处理党务，自己驾车跑上跑下，而且有哪个支部、联络支部啊、哪里支部开幕啊，要成立支部啊，他也是全权他处理咯，所以上上下下他也是很忙的。 有时自己驾车，有时会过个地方过2、3天这样才回来，都是他自己一个人驾，又担心他的驾车不能安全回到家都是3更半夜了，有时3更半夜，有时早，有时回来孩子都睡了呢，隔天有时孩子上学了，他有时一早就起来打分告了，发分告。
There was a lot of a reservoir of support, but to get them to be involved, to come out, to be members, to be open public standard bearers, it's very difficult because there's that fear, there is that fear that they would be victimized because of the overall political climate at that time.
The young activist would discover the fear was well-founded. In the lead up to the 1969 election, he immediately made his debut as the public face of DAP in a great cultural debate with another opposition party, Gerakan, led by Professor Nagid Alatas. The debate brought him wide recognition, and in the third general election in May 1969, the political novice successfully challenged for a seat in parliament.
In 1969, I make a mark and in offering to the people of Malacca that they should support a party and an MP who is prepared to speak up for them on the vision of a fair and a just Malaysia, a Malaysian Malaysia.
It was the first general election the DAP had entered. The party won 13 parliamentary and 31 state assembly seats, securing almost 12% of votes cast. The party's successes shocked even its strongest supporters. But celebrations were short-lived. Racial tensions flared. 3 days after the election, there were riots in Kuala Lumpur. The government imposed emergency rule, and opposition leaders were arrested.
那时我一个人带着4个孩子，又局势又非常紧张，有听他们外面讲说，哎呦，今天哪里发生事所以那实际上又没有在我们的身边呢。
I've already agreed to fly over to Kota Kinabalu to help the campaign of the independent candidates because the elections for the Sabah and Sarawak were to be held 2 weeks later.